Hi, this is Angelina Asante. Welcome to another episode of Live from Florida. Today I have debut author Henry White II coming out with a new book in a couple weeks. Hello, Henry. How are you?
I'm doing great, Angelina. How are you doing?
Good. I'm so glad you could be here. Now, you have a brand new book. This is an
Mhm.
exciting time in your life. Can you tell us
Oh,
the
yeah.
title and what the book is?
First, thank you for having me. The name of the book is called Above the Veil, and it is a book of poetry. And the Above the Veil stands for Above the Veil of Consciousness, right? And so I cover a lot of topics in it. Really, what it is, it was a collection of poems that I'd written over various phases of my life. And I kind of, it was like a journal to me because writing has always been an outlet for me and been a release for me. So initially, I wasn't really planning to compile this for public consumption, but upon showing some people some of the work, they thought that that some people would be able to benefit from it, kind of seeing my struggle and seeing how I made it out of the other side. Once I heard that and finally believed it, and finally believed in myself, is when I decided to publish the book. So,
Well, it's interesting. I was a president of a large author group here in Florida, and the
hmm,
poetry category for our book awards got huge over the last couple of years. I don't
mhm,
know if that's society or political or the thing going on with COVID, but people are really into poetry.
right. Yeah, I've been seeing that as well. It's kind of taken an uptick. I worked with this lady, a friend of mine, many years ago. I mean, decades ago, and we were having this discussion, and she was saying, poetry's starting to make a comeback. And when you look at like the success of someone like a Rupi Kaur, yeah, it's an interesting time. So I think maybe my timing for this is good. So yeah, that's a good observation, Angelina.
And I know a lot of other poets who are doing open mic nights, and they said
Hmm.
they're just a great group of people who are really supportive. So I was always into going to groups of authors, but poets seem to like doing the open mics and supporting each other in that way.
Yeah, I'm kind of a shy performer, but I'd be willing. I'd be willing to give it a try. I mean, I've done it. I mean, long time ago when I was in college. I'd done that, and I think oddly enough, the pandemic might be part of the popularity of like poetry right now. I'm not saying that it directly drove it, but with people spending so much time at home, especially back in 2020, people were looking for different outlets. Just like even there were a lot of individuals that were looking at even career changes, right? But
Right.
having that time away, having that time by yourself, having that time to be able to think and not kind of be crowded with all of the everyday worries of being in the rat race. It kind of opened up people's thinking, right? And so I think a lot of people are beginning to tap into the creativity that you kind of lose when you're just plugging away in corporate America because you're just concerned about what are your tasks or what are your quotas and paying your bills and taking care of family. And I think that that time away, that bit of a disconnect away, was a chance for all of us to kind of do a bit of a reset. And kind of related, I remember during the pandemic, especially when we were on lockdown, the times that I would go outside, like I would look in the clouds and it would be like a blue like I'd never seen because there wasn't any of that air pollution, right? And I
Right.
think for people and really just for the globe in itself, it was a good opportunity to reset. And coming out of that, people are having different priorities, different perspectives, and I think a lot of people are starting to tap into their creativity.
I agree with you. And actually, it's really interesting. I have a friend who is a book agent, and he was
Hmm.
telling me that last year, normally when you would submit to a publisher, it would take 18 to 24 months to go to market. He told
Hmm.
me that everyone who ever wanted to write a book turned a book in last year, and they had
Right,
record numbers of book contracts last year. And he said the only problem is maybe some people shouldn't be writing books.
right, right.
So he sift through people who had a track record of being a
Hmm.
good writer, and then he had to combat all these new people he had never heard of and he'd never seen their work. So it was really interesting. And he also said book to market now is 36 months. So it's taking
Wow.
longer because there's so much stuff to go through now.
Right,
And
right,
everything is slowed down. Even still now, everything is slowed down. So that's really interesting. Everybody's been writing. Now with
right.
poetry, much more introspective. And, you know, it's really interesting to see books getting mainstream attention that are poetry now. People that are poets and getting a lot of attention, even college campuses having them speak, and just it's really interesting to see how poetry has really become mainstream now.
Yeah, and it's been big for me, again, because that's the way that I've been able to express myself. And in my book, there are some dark themes in there, but I really explored the depths of the emotions that I was feeling, right? Not just surface level, but really going into what were some of the underlying issues that were creating the emotions, like the depression or the insecurity or the feelings of inadequacy. And really, this book is very, very, really introspective, and it's an extremely honest, very candid, raw detail of some of the things that went on with my life, right? That being said, I didn't want to be a depressing book, so I did leave it on a good note. But then even when I go to the spiritual portion and my relationship with God, I'm exploring it on a deeper level, not just saying, hey, God, the name, but some of the discussions or some of the prayers that I had towards him, to him, and some of the things that I felt that he was pulling on my heart. And really, quite frankly, having to kind of have to self-reflect and look at the things that were actually wrong with me. Look at some of the character flaws. Look at what was my role in that. Instead of just complaining about all the hurt and the pain, taking a step back and looking at what my role was in that, rather, and then seeing how I could change that for the better. And that's why I named the book Above the Veil, like above the veil of consciousness. When I'm functioning below the veil, I'm comparing myself to other people. I'm, not feeling that I'm up to the task, or I'm feeling insecure. Those are things that really were just ingrained in me. We have these sort of attitudes that we don't even know really where they come from, but they've been ingrained since really childhood, and we're just used to functioning in that, that mechanism. So it's kind of like autopilot. And above the veil is being mindful, taking a step back and almost looking at myself as like I'm looking at another person, and being able to, unbiased, look at the things that are wrong, or look at the things that can be fixed, but in also being fair, looking at the things that are good about myself, looking at my strengths, playing on those strengths. Strengths taken to the extreme could be weaknesses, but you can also take your weaknesses and make them strengths, right? And so that was a lot of the motivation in, going into writing the book and what I was trying to convey. And also, there are other people, I'm sure, out there that are like me, which is why I decided to put this book out and let them know that they have a kindred spirit.
Well, I will say this, being in that position of seeking what we can make better in our own lives is a really uncomfortable position.
Very much so.
And like you're saying, a lot of that is ingrained in childhood, but a lot of the stuff that you just touched on, I feel, has been magnified in a really negative way with social media.
Indeed. And that's why I have to catch myself. When I go on social media, it's a great tool. It's just like anything else. I mean, it depends on how you use it. It's what you make it. When I'm going on there, and this happened to me like a couple of weeks ago, and I'm seeing all these people that are like on vacations, and on the one hand, I'm happy for them, and on the other hand, I'm sitting there thinking like, well, I would like to be there. And then that's when I had to stop. That's exactly what I'm talking about. When I get to that point to where I'm trying to compare myself to someone else or compare my life to someone else, that's a problem. I can't be anyone else, and no one else can be me. What I need to be focused on, and the two things that I do focus on, is I want to be in the center of God's will, and I want to be the best me that I can be. So I'm looking at myself every day, and at the end of the day, evaluating, was I better than I was yesterday? And the answer is not always yes. Sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I do go back. Sometimes I do function below the veil. Sometimes I am tapping in and entertaining my insecurities or feelings of inadequacy and comparing myself to others. But the difference now is that I'm self-aware of that stuff. So instead of just descending down that path and continue to catastrophize and just let it kind of be like the snowball rolling downhill, I can catch myself and say, that's not good, and then take whatever action I need to. If it's get off of social media for whatever amount of time I need to, go take a walk, go take a jog, meditate, whatever the case may be, mindfulness has helped me out a lot in pulling myself away from just kind of falling into that toxic negative feelings that really almost is intuitive for people. Sad to say.
It is, and I did that last year. I took about a month off, and I was so happy that I took that month off because you just get sucked in, and it's such a time waster, especially as a writer. But I do want to say a big congratulations to you because 99% of people who say they're going to write a book don't ever complete one. So you've already hit a very big milestone. So congratulations to you. Now, when is the book coming out?
January 18th. So about a week and a half from now. Here it is.
Wow. Okay. Oh, and I like the cover too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, January 18th. It's available for pre-order right now on Amazon and also Barnes and Noble.
Oh, okay.
So make sure you all go grab yourself a copy. I think you'll be pleased with what you see. I cover a variety of topics, a variety. It'll be something in there for everyone.
Now, do you also have a website or do you have any social media? After talking about social media, plug your social media.
Yeah, well, my website is uglypublishing.com. And I actually have a QR code. I can probably get that to you afterwards, Angelina. I have a QR code that I can send to you. Yeah, I think I'll take you directly there. Yeah, thank you for asking. Uglypublishing.com. And at this point, really, it's just talking about this book, since this is my my premiere opus. That's the focus of it, and a little bit about me as well that you can see. In addition to what we've been talking about today.
I want to thank you for being on. I know this is a very exciting time. Your first book is always really, really exciting. And, I think there's going to be many more to come.
I hope so.
Well, congratulations. Thank you so much for being on today. And you're welcome. It was a pleasure to have you and finally meet you. So I will have all of your information in the show notes. But have a great weekend and good luck with your book launch.
Thank you. You do the same. Thank you, Angelina.
This is Angelina Asante signing off for another episode of Live from Florida.